for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been the CEO of a company, Dar Enterprises. We specialize in industrial safety and equipment. We have been very busy in the Gulf area, in Louisiana, more than 4 level 5 hurricanes. And then I came out to California to try to get away from the hurricanes, and I've been stuck in the snowstorm of the century in the mountain resort area for 7 days. So disasters have been following me around, and it's just good because I specialize in technologies around industrial safety and so I'm okay being trapped in disaster.
And then Raghu, would love for you to introduce yourself and kind of your background in technology. And
Yeah, I am Raghu Kunath. My background is electrical engineering mostly. I've got some medical engineering background as well, and a business degree. I have worked on technologies for edge computing, specifically in the oil and gas space for oil spill detection, wireless communication, and that sort of areas. So yeah, that's my background. I've done a lot of product development, business development as well.
And it sounds like we have a great experience covering just about almost every disaster here, maybe except for earthquakes. And hopefully we don't get any more of those here in California for a while. Yeah, I'd love to see kind of what everybody's perspective is and going around the room about how the global digital world can help us tackle some of these challenges, especially in regards to how remaining connected can change the outlook of a disaster, and how imagery of multiple types and AI can help tackle some of these challenges that we see during the early stages of some of these events, and then how to facilitate the response of the event to an event, which can last sometime for several days or weeks, depending on how things are. So why don't we start with Wolf, since you're actually in the middle of one of these events right now, and tell us a little bit about how the day-to-day looks and how these technologies might help in the future.
So I'm in Lake Arrowhead, California, about 5,600 mountains. In the snowstorm of the century, I literally have 25 feet of snow outside of my home. When I walk out of my home, I'm looking at my second story. And when it comes to disaster communications, I can tell you there was a complete breakdown in communicating risk and communicating road closures. So when you talk about the visibility, I mean, let's start first of all, just road closures and the extreme nature of weather. That's number one. So it took me 2 or 3 days to really realize how bad the weather was. And it's, if your electricity's off or you're closed down, but you still have your cell phone, it seems to me to be a missed opportunity to not communicate with everyone in a geozone. Hey, you're in an area that's about to get 25 feet of snow, or that has 10 feet of snow that won't be plowed for 4 or 5 days. And that coordinated communication seems to be difficult right now for communities, for first responders. The second thing is fire risk. So it took 9 homes to explode because the gas meters were buried in snow before we got the first communication from the gas and utility companies that we should watch out for trouble. 9 homes literally exploded, and before the first communication went out. So there's another area that is a problem. And the big problem is they had to wait for helicopter flyovers to do the risk assessment. Well, if you have to wait for a storm to clear to do the helicopter flyover, you're putting people at risk for days, because you don't know that storm, like the storm up here, it took 5 days for it to be clear enough for them to do the flyover. So having that early alert, this is the extreme degree of the weather. This is your risk of fire, with either buried meters, electric or gas meters, or even water explosions. And then the third area, and it's going to be a stretch for the technology, and maybe a coordination with at-home devices like Google, Google Home, or the Amazon Echo, but communicating from the community's standpoint out to the emergency providers.
Mhm.
So up here and during the hurricanes too, there are a lot of instances where people have a cell phone or they have some other device that's active. They don't have a voice during the emergency to say, hey, I'm trapped in my home and I need diabetes medicine. Or I'm trapped in my home with 5 kids, or I'm trapped and my leg is broken. That communication from the person who's most extreme at danger out to the first responders, there's a technology gap there that I think products like the Delphire products can help solve.
Thank you. And Sarah, why don't you give us your perspective from the wildfire standpoint?
Certainly. So we are residents of the WUI, the Wildland Urban Interface, and so we have a neighborhood here with about 120 homes. Yet we're surrounded by forested lands, and some of those are overgrown with invasive species. And we've heard all about forest management practices and lack of letting fires burn and that sort of thing to clean up a lot of the lands around us. And so we're living amongst that. To add to our challenges, we're also what's known as a one-way out community. We really have one good or not so great, not even so great road in order to get our residents out to safety. So for us, it's really important that we know early and that we know exactly where the wildfire is, because we don't want our residents to get into a situation where they're evacuating somewhere that they're actually putting themselves at greater risk. So as Wolf said, it's all about communications. So to have the earliest possible notification out to all of our residents that there is an imminent threat, you need to leave now. So we're not all, trying to get down these 1-lane roads with a wildfire blazing behind us, and also to notify those first responders as soon as possible in order to get some help. But the other thing I think also is with the intelligence of that system is we don't want a system that gives us a bunch of false warnings either. So it's really got to be a smart system to understand the difference between fog and clouds and smoke and what all those things are. Because if you don't have a system that can do that, you're giving people false warnings, then maybe when there really is an emergency, people aren't going to listen to it.
Mhm.
So we are really looking to try and develop those sorts of communication systems within our community to help give our residents the best chance in the event of what it's not if it will come. We really feel like it's when it will come. We really want the best chance, and so we're really looking towards systems like Delphire to